Hello and welcome. I can't wait to introduce today's guest, Adit Shah. From humble beginnings as a deck seaman in the Navy to leading not one, but two real estate companies with over 20 million in assets under management, Adit's story is nothing short of remarkable. After his service in the Navy, he dove headfirst into the world of real estate, immersing himself in the industry and learning from the ground up. Now, in less than 5 years, he's disrupting the real estate landscape with innovative projects ranging from hotels to urban infill developments. Join us as Adit shares his insights, lessons learned, and strategies in the dynamic world of real estate investing. Adit, thanks for joining us.
That was one hell of an intro. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, super excited to have you here. I thought maybe we could just start out with you giving us a little bit of your background, like how and why did you start investing in real estate?
Sure, you kind of alluded to it in the introduction, and so I was in the military. I was a bosun mate in the Navy deck department, kind of like arguably the worst job in the Navy. It's kind of where all the misfits end up. Like either you have super low ASVAB score or you have a criminal record. They send you to deck department. So I was in that mix. But one thing that I learned there was, the power of being able to advance in any situation. The military taught me a lot about that. But after I got out of the military, I kind of took everything that I learned, that whole mindset, into real estate. And I did one thing right in the military. I used my VA loan to buy a condo. And I was like, man, this real estate thing is cool. I was renting out the other room. My roommate was paying most of my expenses. Stumbled on Bigger Pockets podcast, and I did something crazy. I went on Bigger Pockets, LinkedIn, Google, really looked up everyone who looked like they were doing something in real estate that wasn't a realtor, like a
Mhm.
syndicator, developer, flipper, wholesaler. And I sent them a cover letter and resume, and I said, it basically said, "Hey, my name's Adit Shah. I basically have no skills. I'm a handyman. I can fix things. I was in the military. Let me come work for you for free. I just want to learn about real estate." And I sent out many, many, many of these
Mm.
emails, messages, things like that. No one really took me up on it. One guy was finally like, "All right, stop harassing me. Come to the job site. You can come help move around boxes." So I helped him move around boxes for a while. And ended up fixing a lot of things for him, like as a handyman for free. Worked for him for free for a year. Turned into a paid position for 2 more years, and then I kind of stepped up to property management and then project management, and learned all about the world of real estate development from there.
That's amazing. I know you mentioned a little bit of kind of like leveraging your experience of understanding that like you can advance in any situation, if you take advantage of the opportunity. Can you share a little bit more about how you leverage some of the skills and the discipline that you learned from the military as you transitioned into this new field of real estate?
Yeah, so and you can really attest to this as well. I think the military, if you have the right attitude, can really set you up for success in and outside the military. If you kind of learn how the military works, how to succeed there, you can succeed anywhere. And the big things that I took away, number one, was the value of doing things that everyone else is too afraid to do or too lazy to do or just doesn't want to do, right? If you volunteer for doing all the hard stuff, like, I volunteered for this developer doing like the ugliest work, right? But that's how I got started. Same thing in the military. While everyone was kind of like, crying about doing some of the harder work, I took that stuff up. I hated it, don't
Mhm.
get me wrong, but I did it
Yeah.
because I knew that that would be the easiest path to advancement.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And definitely, I think rings true, regardless of what field you're in, right? Like if you're willing to take on those most difficult jobs, it's going to be hard to stop you because those are the things a lot of times that will propel us forward. But it takes a little bit of that extra effort that a lot of people are unwilling to put in. Can you talk a little bit about how you developed your businesses as you kind of transitioned from all that experience that you were getting working from someone else? Like, what made you want to strike out on your own and kind of how did you put that together?
Sure. So basically what I did was I had the condo. I had the next year in 2000, no, sorry, yeah, 2021, I bought a 3 unit again with the VA loan. So I had one VA loan out and then I got a second VA loan. I combined entitlement with the veteran. And then in late 2021, I exited both of those for a six-figure profit each. And I had done some lending to my mentor and other people, and I had also done a long distance flip, I guess, in North Carolina. It was like kind of like a extended long distance wholesale. But anyways, that was
Okay.
an exit, and they all happened around the same time. And I had this bankroll, so I had that bankroll, and I knew what I wanted to do was I wanted to buy underperforming assets at steep discounts and raise value, right?
Hmm.
Force appreciation. That is something that I was really good at, that I had been doing for the previous 2 years with my mentor. But the problem was I just didn't have enough experience at the time yet to do exactly what he was doing, on my own. But
Okay.
I went to different asset classes, the multifamily, the self-storage, the everything, and just found that because the interest rate, I was competing with people who were overbidding. They were paying outside of what it would make sense for me. I stumbled upon hotels, started doing hotel deals, and co-founded Tempest 22 with one of my best friends, and we in 9 months, so we started that in early 2022. In 2022, in our first 9 months, we bought $18 million worth of hotels. So I went from doing onesie, twosies, threesies deals a year, right, to doing $20 million worth of acquisitions in 9 months, because of something. It is something very specific. It's the introduction of private equity, the
Mm.
introduction of private capital. That's what was the kind of the injection to that massive scale.
Private capital, introducing that into your process. Can you talk a little bit more about what that looks like, what it is, how it works for those who might be listening who aren't super familiar with what that means?
Yeah, totally. So I started out doing it in hotels. I'm no longer in the hotel business. I have, one more active raise that's going to close soon, and then I'm doing strictly new development, new construction, multifamily in San Diego County. That's my expertise.
Okay.
But how it works is it's no different for any asset class. So I started hotels, doing it now for new construction. And the way it works is basically like, when you think about doing a deal, it's a bucket, right? So you have to fill that bucket to 100%. It doesn't matter who actually fills up the bucket. In most cases, the bank fills up 70%, you fill up 30%, or some combination like that, right?
Okay.
But it could be you fill up 50%, investors fill up the other 50%, or you fill up 50 and the seller finances 50%. As long as you fill that bucket up to 100%. The way that we do it is we get investors and our personal money together to
Hmm.
fill up 100% of the bucket. And then me, for organizing the whole deal, I take anywhere from 10 to 30% ownership for running the day-to-day, organizing, finding the deal, doing all the work, and my investors will get anywhere from 70 to 90% ownership in that asset for just funding it, right? They
Got
won't
it.
they won't get any they won't have to do any work. All they have to do is fund it. So that's kind of how a passive real estate investment works.
Awesome. So for your deals, you're trying not to need to go through bank financing. You're looking at going 100% investor funds between you and your investor partners. Did I understand that correctly?
So at the moment, we have not been using bank debt
Got it.
just because it's just too expensive and it
Yep.
kills a lot of deals. Number two is I've been tending to take on more complex projects where I don't want a bank breathing down my neck.
Hmm.
Number three is if I'm paying the bank 8%, that is a sufficient return cash on cash. Right now, there's obviously a big equity exit at the end of most deals, but for an 8 to 10% cash on cash for most investors, that's something that they will view as favorable. So in place of paying the bank that money, I'd rather give a private investor that money. Number one, they have equity upside plus to that fixed return. And number two, I don't have a bank breathing down my neck or threatening my asset. So
Hmm.
those are kind of like the advantages. But to answer your question, yeah, I'm not really doing too much bank financing or debt financing at all right now. I'm doing a lot of equity
Equity.
financing.
Awesome. So you mentioned in there kind of like not liking to have, the bank breathing down your neck, so to speak, because you want to be able to run the project the way that you've designed it and the way that you know you can execute it without having that third party kind of like poking at you all the time, right? So can you talk a little bit about how you go about doing your initial sort of like underwriting and due diligence on the project so that you are able to align your investment plan with your investors' expectations?
Yeah, so basically processes like this, a lead comes through, we do some napkin math, right? And in our napkin math, our offer is always 100% based on the investor's return. So like a lot of people at the end of their spreadsheet will have like a ROI for them or for the whole project. Mine has how much is my investor going to make, right? So I don't if it's anything under, I'm not speaking from a IRR perspective,
Mm-hmm.
which takes into account the time value of money. I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
just a strict ROI perspective. This is how
Mm-hmm.
I do it. They must be making 25% a year, So let's say that it's a 4-year project and it's a total 107% ROI. That's a project that I will do. Or if it's a 3-year project and it's a total 90% ROI, that's a project that I'll do. So all of my underwriting process, what is derived from that and what is used to make the decision is the investor's return.
I love that. Yeah, definitely. I think it's something that will help to put a lot of investors at ease when they know that like you're designing the entire project, you're whether or not you're willing to take it on based on whether or not it's good for them or not, and prioritizing their needs over your own. That's incredible. Can you talk a little bit more about your businesses and sort of how did you form them? How did you come up with the mission statement? Like what are they all about? Like what's the why behind what you're doing now with your businesses?
Sure. So I have two companies right now. One is Tempest 22 and the other is Housebender. Tempest 22 did a lot of hotel transactions. We accomplished a lot. We did $20 million, more than $20 million in acquisitions in hotels, plus a software company. So that's what we have in our portfolio there. This is another thing that I'm more than happy to talk about here and get vulnerable about, but I got majorly screwed by a business partner in that venture. So
Mm,
I'm closing out my last raise there and I'm shutting the door and I'm gonna just go 100% into infill development. But Housebender is kind of my baby, and Housebender was born out of my experience of working for free. It's basically exactly what I was doing with that developer, what I had learned from the trenches. And I talk about a lot about learning from the trenches. Trench level knowledge is what I did with real estate development. I'm just taking that, packaging it up as an investment vehicle for investors and myself, and creating housing in the process. So that's kind of the two businesses that I have going on and how they're kind of like structured and what their missions are.
awesome. I want to talk more about Housebender and then we'll kind of circle back to the other business partnership question. So what does that look like? Give us an example of like a transaction, kind of how do you find it and put your business plan together? What are the types of projects that you guys are doing right now in San Diego?
Absolutely. So to describe my niche, so to say, is in a nutshell, number one, too big for the flipper. Number two, too small for the big developer. Number
Mm,
three, not traditionally financeable. Like, let me give you an example. So I have an offer out right now that I'm pretty sure is going to get accepted on a project that's two parcels side by side. One of them is a duplex. It's a 2 unit. The other one is a single family home with a commercial building that's being used as an auto body shop right now. These parcels are side by side, right? They're touching. The property's been has been sitting on the market for almost a year now. And the reason is because the seller refused to sell them separately. She wants to sell them both together
hmm
because she wants to 1031. No bank will finance it, number one. Number two, most people don't know what to do with it. I know exactly what to do with it because I did an identical project with my mentor like 3 streets over. We bought a parcel that had a house and the commercial building and converted the commercial building into residential. So that's exactly what I'll do here. I've already done it. But no one else really wants to take on that risk because for the big developer, it's just too much time. It's too small. It's not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, right? Because we're talking about a total project that's under $2 million. Whereas these big guys are looking to deploy 5 million and up at a time. And for the flipper, they're like, dude, this is going to be a 2.5 year project. My hard money, I can't afford that carrying cost right now. There's no bank that's going to finance me. So, but me, I'm looking at, okay, I have investors that are looking to make X return. This project yields X return.
hmm
Let's do it 100% cash, and we can actually make lemonade out of these lemons.
Yeah, that's a really interesting niche to kind of carve out. And I love the way that you put that in terms of like it's a little too big for the flipper it's a little too small for like the big guys out there. And so it's that perfect sweet spot in between the two where you can come in and take that knowledge and experience that you have and turn something that most people don't want to touch because it's too scary or it's just too much for them to take on, and you can really make a great product out of it. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so
Thank
let's
you.
start.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. Let's circle back and talk more because you mentioned how with Tempest 22 you are looking to kind of close things off there and exit that in the future and move on. What lessons, what challenges did you face going through that partnership process, and what are some of your takeaways?
Yeah, so number one, now I guess I have experienced a bad business partnership, like a really bad business partnership, but I will not speak about what I believe my partner did wrong, right? I don't care to. I can't control that. It doesn't
Hmm.
change anything, and it won't change anything for anyone that's listening. But what will help you is to number one, this whole mindset shift of let me focus on what only on what I can control and make
Hmm.
sure that is buttoned down, right? So what did I do wrong that I could control? Number one, I didn't include language in the operating agreement. What happens if the company starts running out of money and I have to come out of pocket to cover the expenses because a partner doesn't have the money to do it? In a good scenario, that partner should have to pay somehow, whether it be through interest, through equity,
Hmm.
or
So
getting their
some sort of
equity
trade-off.
lowered.
Right.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? Number two is thoroughly vetting people, like not just taking at surface value what they say, and that's not being like suspicious or mistrusting, but it's like, okay, you're gonna get into business with somebody, you're gonna go in front of investors and vouch for this other person. You're gonna be telling the investors like, hey, this guy's good to go, he's got all this experience, he's legit. If you're going to do that, you have to have done the thorough due diligence to be confident in saying that, not just based on what that person told you, right? And like I said, it's not of I'm doubting you or or I'm being suspicious of you. It's no, I need to know in my heart that what I'm saying is true so I can say it with more conviction and confidence. Because when you speak the truth, it comes across a whole different
Hmm.
way, especially when you're pitching investors. They feel that truth. When someone's pitching me, I feel that they're telling the truth that, wow, this person believes 100% of what they're saying. And then number three, what I will say is when things start going wrong is the time to nip them in the butt. Like a lot of times things will start going wrong or somebody will start acting a certain way or saying certain things, and you'll be like, you know what, he means well, he's just like X, or he means well, he's just like Y, but he's a good person. But
Hmm.
you must be comfortable. And number two, you have a duty to yourself and your investors. The moment that things start getting weird, or you have something in your gut feel weird, or that you're uncertain about, to address it in a very respectful way, right? In a non-confrontational way, but address it right away. Like, hey, I don't think that what you're saying or what you're doing, I don't think that's in line with our mission. Like, could you tone that down? Or, hey, what's up? Why'd you say that? Maybe get their reasons of why they're saying or doing something. Like, hey, but didn't you tell me this like a year ago? And now we're finding out that what you said was not true. And if you find out that somebody has actually lied, you need to separate yourself from them immediately, in business. Because if it happens once, it's definitely going to happen again, and it's going to happen again, and it's going to happen again, right? Especially when we're talking about grown people, grown men, grown women. By the time you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, you're mostly fully developed. Not saying that people can't change, right? But I'm not going to change them, right? And I'm not going to wait on them to change. So let's nip those things in the butt and let's distance ourselves as quickly as possible when things like that happen.
Yeah, that's such a great point about how like things like that, like like lying or something, like when it is outright and intentional, like that is showing who a part of who somebody's character is, right? Like it's a difference between like they misunderstood something and now we are clearer on that going forward. But like if they like outright lie to you, like it's really difficult to come back from that. And so I think you made such a great point about making sure that we take the time because it's truly like in our investors' best interest, right? Like we want to make sure that the people that we're partnering with, that the teams that we're forming, that we are positioning ourselves in a place where we can best be stewards of the funds that investors are bringing to us. And I think it's a tough lesson that honestly, most people in our space learn at some point along the way. Like I think more often than not, people have at least one story about a partnership that didn't work out. And I think you really keyed in on such an important piece of that at the beginning of like, at the end of the day, control what you can control, right? Like that mindset piece of not looking at it necessarily as like a failure, but what can I learn from this and what can I do differently going forward so that I don't do that again. So I appreciate you, getting a little vulnerable there with us and kind of sharing some of that struggle. But I think there's a lot of great lessons learned in there for people to, to hopefully be able to learn through your experience and hopefully do things differently.
Yeah, no, totally. And one thing that I'll say that you can never, ever, ever, ever go wrong in is radical transparency.
Mm,
Like if you're just overly transparent, which I don't see any problem in that when we're talking about investors being involved in a real estate project. Like I am like just so I've had investors come back like because I've called investors like randomly and given them updates and they're like, dude, I could have waited till the quarterly to hear that. That doesn't really sound like a big deal. And I'm like, no, 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 it's not a big deal but by any means, but it's my duty and fiduciary responsibility to you to be overly transparent about every single thing that goes on, right? I have found when you do that, it comes across that way. Like
mhm,
it's apparent to investors, apparent to anyone, to me. When someone is like, wow, I'm feeling like this guy is not holding anything back, is being very genuine, is not capable of hiding things. When you're overly transparent, that is the quickest way to win people's trust is to just be truly, genuinely honest. There's no
mhm.
other way to do it. Like I do a lot of free one-on-one coaching calls, right? Like I've done over 100 this year. And some people are asking, so like, what's a good way to win the trust of investors? And I'm like, it's not something that you really win. Like it all depends on who you are as a person. Like just be a good person, don't lie, be overly transparent, and deliver the returns that you projected. That's how you win the trust of investors. That's how you really sell people. There's no other way, and there's no shortcut to that.
Yes, right? Like there's no secret sauce, secret formula. Like what are the tricks that I need to there's no tricking. It's like just be honest. Be straightforward, tell the truth. Like do those things and it's amazing how much easier it becomes for people to want to trust you and want to be involved with you than if they feel like you're not giving them the whole truth, like you're holding something back. Makes a big difference.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So, as a disruptor in the real estate industry, what do you see as the biggest misconception or myth about real estate investing that you would like to debunk?
I would like to debunk that real estate investing is a get rich overnight or get rich quick or the easiest path to financial freedom and everyone's going to be a millionaire. Like, number one, I don't think that any short-term thinking is going to be useful in any stage of anyone's financial freedom journey. Does it happen quickly? Yeah. I did 20 million bucks of acquisitions in 9 months. That's really freaking fast. But that was 3 years into it, you know, which for me still seems pretty fast. When I think about my life as a whole, 3 years is not long. A lot of people are looking for like, hey, 90-day get rich, 6 month get rich, 1 year get rich. It's just not the right way to think. The right way to think is, hey, let me identify something that I like, that I see myself doing for a very long time, 10, 15, 20 years, something that is going to be lucrative, but that's not the reason I'm doing it. The reason I'm doing it is because I'm going to like it. And let me play a 20-year game.
Mm,
Because in the 20-year game, today, next year does not matter, right? In the 20-year game, everything is accumulation to the wins of the long-term wins, right? And then also, when you think that way, small little quick exits. Oh, I made 10 grand on this thing, one time. That doesn't matter to you. You're like, okay, well, that's not really a celebration to me because I'm thinking about how am I going to be 100 millionaire over 15 to 20 years.
mm,
Making 10 grand right now on a quick flip is not very conducive to that big goal, right? And the other thing that I would like to debunk about real estate investing is that it is hard, or it's impossible, or you need a lot of money to get started, or you need to have connections, or you need to have it needs to run in your family. I was actually so I did not complete, but I was attending University of California, San Diego real estate development program. That it's a bachelor's in science, and I didn't finish for this is part of the reason is the first day of one of the classes is like intro to real estate development. The professor said the professor's like a consultant, right? Like so he like
Okay.
consults developers. He's got like a consulting company. He's like, here is the number one fact about real estate development. If you want to make a large fortune in real estate, you must start with a small fortune. I'm like, dude, that is the biggest load of bullshit that I've heard in my life, man. Like, there's so many people, me, zero education, zero money, zero family connections, zero relationships, zero, 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 who made it to a point, of real estate success. And it is very possible. It is very achievable. All you need is number one, a desire, and number two, a little bit of work ethic, not much, believe it or not. So those are the two things that I would say are common misconceptions about real estate.
That is so, so good. You dropped so many good things in there. I'll see how many we can go back and touch on here. But like, I think one of my mentors says something very similar to, to what you said. Like, real estate is not a get rich quick, but it is a get rich for sure in the long term. But you have to be on board with that long term mentality and mindset. And I think that's really difficult for a lot of people, and it's unfair because a lot of the gurus out there these days are like, "Oh, you can make $1 million in less than a year, or whatever it is, or do one deal and you'll never have to work another day in your life," or whatever some of these things that they put out there. But it's like when you can approach it from that perspective of knowing that if you're willing to put in the work, it will pay off down the line. I think like you really are such a perfect example too of that second one of like you don't have to have a big pile of money in order to get started in real estate. And I think that's another thing that, you know, you have to have money to make money, right? Like that we hear so often. And as long as you're willing to put in the work, I mean, you said you worked for free for what, like a year? Obviously not everyone is in a position where they can do that, but volunteer one Saturday a week, whatever it is, like wherever you have that bandwidth in your schedule, you work your regular W-2 40 hours a week, that still leaves a lot of other time to get out there and be shadowing somebody who knows what they're doing, add value by showing up and helping, and then, see where it goes from there. I know for me, some of the most basic stuff that I've learned with regard to real estate on the building side of things is just volunteering with Habitat for Humanity. Like, I show up, I don't have to have any skills, I don't have to have any tools. I just show up and they're like, okay, today we're going to install insulation. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's learn how to do this. And so there's a lot of ways that you can be creative if you want to learn to be able to actually start, getting some traction there. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, no, you definitely nailed it. And to your point, like, yeah, I worked for free for a year. I was a single, recently separated from the military. You got my GI Bill coming in. I was going to San Diego State. That wasn't, I was house hacking,
Mhm.
so that was enough for me to cover the expenses, which is not the case, for 90% of people. But maybe you have some money saved up. Maybe you have like 20, $30,000 saved up, and you can go to your local flipper, developer, syndicator and say, hey, what's your minimum, or are you raising money? Well, I have 20K saved up. I'd love to invest it with you, but I want an active role in this
Mm.
project. Like I want to be responsible for something in this project, and I'm gonna work Saturday and Sunday and evenings. So do that. So now you're not full-time working for free, but you're investing. Number one, you're making money if you vetted the right person and invested in the right deal. But number two, you're also getting a hands-on look at what mastery looks like in real estate, right? I think the most powerful thing that somebody can do in real estate is from day one, align themselves with the master, right? So you can get a look of what it looks like to be a master. Now, can you start at the bottom and build everything on your own and become a master? Yes, you can. but it's going to take a lot longer. It's going to be more painful than you already know what, hey, this is what it looks like to succeed in real estate, right? Let me invest with this person and work for them. Let me just work for them for free if I have no money. Let me build them a website if I know how to build
Mm,
websites for free. Let me do some social media posts for them if I'm a videographer. You know, all these things, everyone has a skill set that they have to offer. Identify that and do it and align yourself with the master. Get an idea of what mastery looks like on day one of your real estate investment journey, and then back engineer that. So that's kind of my take on that. Yeah, so what I would do is I would start going to real estate meetups, start getting on Bigger Pockets, LinkedIn, start networking in the sphere,
hmm
join a community like we're part of the War Room,
hmm
which is a great community for military veterans. And you'll just start, like, when you go to the meetups, you'll easily see who the real players are, right? Or if you join the community, you see the real players are, and a lot of times they'll already have investors who have invested with them, and they have a track record of returning money. They have a track record of delivering projected returns. And once you find someone like that, that's what you would align yourself with. Now, as far as steps, I would say number one, get yourself in front of where these people are, which is joining communities, meetups, masterminds, Facebook groups, all the above. Number two is identifying who the players are, and then number three, finding the ones that have a credibility or track record.
All right. Well, as we wrap things up here, what is the number one takeaway that you would like to leave with our listeners today?
Yeah, so my number one takeaway is my biggest broken record, and that is, if you want to get started in real estate and succeed in real estate or anything in life, the fastest way to do it is to align yourself with the master on day one, figure out how to bring them value, add that value to them to get an inside look at their operation, right? And then break off and do it on your own, or continue to work with them and get a piece of what you're generating. But the easiest way to get started in real estate is find a master, align yourself with them, bring them value, however that looks, whether it's investing with them, working for them for free, giving them some kind of value in any other way. Do that, and you're going to know what mastery looks like on day one. That's the easiest way to get started in any kind of business.
Such a perfect way to end things. Know what mastery looks like on day one. Like you don't have to spin your wheels and
Yeah.
waste a bunch of time trying to figure it out. Well, Adit, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today. I really appreciate your insights on how we can leverage real estate as a tool to build wealth and achieve financial freedom. What is the best way for our guests to connect with you if they would like to continue following your journey?
So you could go to my website, www.housebender.com, House bender.com. I'm doing free one-on-one coaching right now. I think I have like 16 more slots. So feel free to hop on there. You'll find a Calendly link in my Instagram. So that's the second place, at Housebender. And if you go to my link in bio, you could subscribe to my newsletter or hop on one of those free calls. I had a goal this year for helping 100 free um or sorry, 100 people for free in their real estate journey at all
Mhm.
levels. And I think it's like now turned into like 200, because I just keep doing it because it's so much fun. And it's no sales pitch. It's just, hey, what do you need help with? Let's talk. And then lastly, if you need help, and you don't want to get on a call, you just have a quick question, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram. I answer them all the time. I answer a lot of questions in the DM. So happy to help however I can.
Awesome. Thank you, Adit. We will also provide links for all of that information in the show notes. And thank you to our wonderful listeners for tuning in to this episode and for being a part of this community. If you found value in this episode, please hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. Until next time, remember that your path to financial freedom and the life of your dreams might be closer than you think. Take that first step and explore your possibilities. Stay tuned for more insightful episodes. And again, thanks for listening.